The neon lights of the city flickered in Jaden Cole's rearview mirror as he cruised down the nearly deserted streets of Brooklyn. The hum of his car's engine was drowned out by the hip-hop track pulsing through his speakers. Jaden wasn't doing anything illegal. He had checked. His seatbelt was on, his headlights worked, and he wasn't speeding. Yet, the sudden flashing red and blue lights behind him made his stomach drop. "Here we go again," he muttered, easing his car to the curb. Jaden had been through this before. Black men like him didn't need a reason to get pulled over. He kept his hands on the wheel as the cop approached, his heart hammering against his ribs. The officer, a burly, middle-aged white cop with a buzz cut, tapped the glass with his flashlight. "License and registration," the officer ordered, his voice flat. Jaden nodded, moving slowly. "Sure. Can I ask why I'm being stopped?" The officer didn't answer. He just stared, his hand resting near his holster. Jaden swallowed the lump forming in his throat and retrieved his wallet. "I wasn't speeding," he said, handing over his license. The officer barely glanced at it before shifting his gaze toward Jaden's hoodie. "Step out of the car." Jaden stiffened. "Excuse me?" "I said get out of the damn car. Now." Every instinct in Jaden's body told him this was wrong, but he also knew resisting would only make things worse. Slowly, he unbuckled his seatbelt and stepped out onto the pavement. The officer immediately grabbed his wrist, twisting it behind his back. "What the hell?" Jaden gasped, struggling. "You match the description of a suspect in the area," the officer growled. That was the excuse. It was always the excuse. Jaden had heard it before. He fit the description of every black guy they wanted to harass. A second officer, Officer Trent, stepped forward with a smug grin. "What do we have here, Davis?" "Potential drug dealer," Davis replied, shoving Jaden against the car. Jaden clenched his jaw. "I'm a student at NYU, man. I don't sell drugs." Officer Trent laughed, patting down Jaden roughly. "You're a hacker, right?" Jaden's stomach twisted. How did they know that? Davis yanked his phone out of his hoodie pocket, smirking as he turned it over in his hand. "A little birdie told us you like to mess around online." Jaden stayed silent. His hacking skills were mostly a secret. He had dabbled in cybersecurity, even exposed small-time frauds and scammers online. But this was different. Trent leaned in. "See, kids like you think you're untouchable behind a screen. But out here, we run things." Jaden burned with anger, but he knew better than to fight. A few minutes later, they let him go without charges. No ticket, no explanation. Just another humiliating stop to remind him of his place. Jaden sat in his car, watching them walk away, laughing like it was all a joke. But something inside him snapped. Enough was enough. If they wanted to accuse him of being a hacker, fine. He would be one. But this time, he wouldn't just expose low-level fraudsters online. Jaden sat in his dimly lit bedroom, the glow of his multiple monitors illuminating his face. The humiliation from the traffic stop burned in his mind, fueling his determination. Officer Davis and Officer Trent had made a mistake. They had pushed the wrong person. Jaden wasn't just some random hacker. He was a ghost in the system, an expert in digital infiltration. He cracked his knuckles and took a deep breath. This wasn't just revenge. This was about exposing a corrupt system that had been ruining lives for years. His first step? Getting inside the NYPD's system. Jaden had spent years studying cybersecurity. He knew that breaking into a police department's database wasn't like hacking into a social media account. They had firewalls, encryption, and security teams monitoring suspicious activity. But Jayden also knew something they didn't. Every system had a weak point. He started with the public police website, analyzing its structure and data requests. Most hackers would try to break through the main security, but Jayden knew better. Instead, he searched for a backdoor, an exposed link, an outdated login portal, anything that could be exploited. After 2 hours, he found it. A forgotten database access portal linked to an old employee record system. Jayden smirked. Too easy. With a few keystrokes, he launched a phishing attack on the police department's IT staff, a fake email disguised as an internal security update. All it took was one careless click. And then, he was in. Jayden carefully navigated the system, knowing one wrong move could alert security. He wasn't just looking for his own police report. He wanted proof of corruption. After sifting through thousands of reports, something caught his eye. A hidden folder labeled Red List. His pulse quickened as he clicked it open. Inside, he found hundreds of flagged profiles, all Black and Latino men, who had been targeted by police for unnecessary stops, false charges, and harassment. The same officers' names kept appearing over and over again. Davis, Trent, and over a dozen more. They had fabricated charges, planted evidence, and even falsified arrest reports to boost their numbers. Jayden felt his hands shake with anger. But then, he found something even worse. A video file buried deep in the system. He clicked it. The grainy body cam footage loaded on his screen. It showed Officer Davis and Officer Trent pulling over a young black man, just like they had done to him. But this time, they planted drugs in his car. Jayden's stomach twisted as he watched the kid protest, plead, and cry, only to be thrown into cuffs while the officers laughed. The timestamp? 2 months ago. The kid's name? Marcus Evans. And according to the system records, Marcus was now serving 3 years in prison. Jayden gritted his teeth. This wasn't just about him anymore. He wasn't going to just expose them. He was going to bring them down. Jayden's hands hovered over his keyboard, his pulse pounding in his ears. The evidence he had found was damning. A secret police database targeting minorities, fabricated reports, and body cam footage proving corruption. But exposing this wouldn't be easy. If he simply leaked the files, the police department might cover it up, dismissing it as hacked misinformation. He needed to hit them where it hurt, in a way they couldn't ignore or erase. So, he devised a plan. Jayden crafted an automated script, setting it to upload the files in multiple locations, a secured whistleblower website used by journalists, a public live stream scheduled to broadcast the body cam footage, a direct email dump to major news stations and civil rights groups, a leak to the FBI's Internal Affairs Division, forcing a federal investigation. Then, he prepared one final message, a digital manifesto explaining the corruption within the NYPD's 7th Precinct, listing every officer involved. And the best part? He would hack into the precinct's internal announcement system, broadcasting his message on every screen inside the station. At exactly 10 a.m., Jayden pressed Enter. Instantly, the police station's monitors and announcement speakers flickered to life. Security footage of Officer Davis and Officer Trent planting drugs played on every screen in the building. A robotic voice read Jayden's message. To the officers of the 7th Precinct, your corruption is no longer a secret. Your lies, your false arrests, your abuse of power. It's all been exposed. The world is watching. The FBI has your files. The media has your names. Justice is coming. Officers jumped from their desks, frantically trying to shut down the system. But it was too late. Their emails had already been flooded with evidence dumps, and reporters were outside the station within minutes. Jayden watched it all unfold from a rooftop across the street, his laptop still open. Breaking news alerts flooded the internet. The NYPD was forced into emergency press conferences. The FBI launched an official corruption investigation. And then came the best part. Live on TV, the NYPD commissioner stepped up to the podium. "We are placing Officers Davis and Trent under immediate suspension while the investigation is underway," he announced. "Additionally, the Department of Justice will be reviewing past cases for possible wrongful convictions." Jayden clenched his fist, a small smile of satisfaction on his face. He had done it. Marcus Evans, the kid who had been falsely imprisoned, would finally have a chance at freedom. And the officers who had abused their power for years? They weren't untouchable anymore. Jayden shut his laptop and disappeared into the city, knowing his mission was complete. Justice wasn't about revenge. It was about accountability, and he had just made sure they faced it.